Welcome to another episode of We Don't Die. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the best-selling book called We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And today on the show, I get to introduce you to Dr. Susan Barnes. Dr. Susan B. Barnes, CSNU, is a communication professor, medium, author, and spirit artist. She is a certificate holder from the Spiritualist National Union, SNU, and tutors mediumship classes on snui.org. She has been trained in mediumship at the prestigious Arthur Findlay College in the UK and the International Spiritualist Federation. Her work has been featured in Psychic News, Psychic Observer, and in several television programs. In addition, she is the curator of the Spirit Art Gallery in New York. Her website is spiritartgallery.net. So welcome to We Don't Die Radio, Dr. Susan Barnes. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction.
Oh, and thank you for being the wonderful person you are. I know we spoke a couple minutes before we started recording, and I really push that SNUI on people, and I'm grateful to see you're one of the tutors there. It's very exciting on the online community.
Yes, it is. I mean, it really is the best bargain to learn mediumship available anywhere. And the people who teach there have, wonderful credentials. So It's a good place.
It is. And most people, especially listening to this show, are from all over the world. And to go to a website, not only learn mediumship, but to be able to go to some of these online services and have an opportunity possibly to be connected with a loved one in spirit, it's just the best. So we can talk more about that, but this show is about you, not me doing all the talking. So Susan, you're coming from us from New York today?
That's right. I'm actually in Lilydale.
You are in Lilydale, which we get to hear about. Yeah. Okay, great. I'll ask you what Lilydale is in a little while. But how about a little bit about you? How did you end up getting into this wonderful world of spirit communication? Maybe you can give us a little background of who you are professionally and how this world opened up, or has it been something that's always been there for you?
Well, it's interesting because I've heard this a lot. When I was a kid, I was claircognizant, so I knew information, but I didn't know how I knew it. So I told my parents, and they, of course, sent me to a psychiatrist, which squashed the whole thing.
Of course.
And then what happened to me was when I was 16, I had a boyfriend who died suddenly. And I had a near-death experience. And I saw clairvoyantly everything we had done together. And then the image stopped. And it shattered like a piece of glass. And then as the pieces fell down, I could see the room I was in because I had my eyes open. So I started seeking what happened to me. What was that experience about?
Right.
And so, that set me on the quest for, and it wasn't until later in life when I found spiritualism that everything clicked once I found that philosophy.
And how did you end up getting introduced to spiritualism?
Well, what's interesting, I lived for many, many years in New York City. And, of course, I was down there on September 11th, and I was down at the World Trade Center when a lot of it happened and had to run from debris and went through that whole trauma and then decided that I think maybe it's time to get out of New York. So I moved up to Rochester, New York, and got a job at RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology. And in Rochester, I found that was where spiritualism really started. So I found spiritualism there and started going to the churches.
Maybe you could describe, Susan, what spiritualism is. Some people, this is their very first episode. I know I've spoken about it in past episodes, but how is that distinguished from maybe another religion or others?
Interesting question. There are some basic principles. I'll name a couple of them. They believe in God. They believe in the brotherhood of man. They believe in the spirit of angels, and they believe in the continuous existence of the human soul. And most of all, they believe in personal responsibility. So they have these principles that are not dogmas, but they're guidelines for you to try to live your life. And spiritualists believe in natural law. And natural law basically says, if you put out good thoughts, you'll get good thoughts back. If you put out negativity, you'll get negativity back. So it really believes that you need to be positive, and you need to be considerate of others, and you need to do all these good things if you're going to lead a spiritualist life.
Mm-hmm. And spiritualism welcomes everybody, right?
Absolutely right. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And I've been to plenty of spiritualist services, and they are fantastic. I mean, I grew up with a Catholic background, and although it's definitely different, I felt just in a warm, loving congregation, and different than a homily, but the minister would share some very moving things. There's music, and at the end, the minister or whomever will do a platform reading and talk to the congregation about what deceased people are there. And I thought, this is like no other thing I've ever experienced.
Yes. And then what my credentials with the SNU are is that I'm qualified to do a lecture and a demonstration of mediumship at any of their church services.
Excellent. And you've worked for that quite. I mean, that's definitely a road you had to be on to do that. That's not a mail-in application and there you get it. No.
I mean, it's like at this point, I've written probably 75 essays,
mm-hmm.
and had to do services. I had to do 25 services and 25 demonstrations just to start. And then go beyond that, just to start, yeah.
And that's demonstrating your mediumship, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can do that. What's nice about the SNUI is that you can do most of it online. I did a large part of it online, but then I went to England for the final testing. And because I did it in person, I got the full credentials.
Oh, that's excellent. And in England, you mean at the Arthur Findlay College?
No, actually, it's now called the Barbanel Center, but they have a second place in Stafford, England, which is where they do all of the teacher training.
Oh, okay.
And all of the testing, yeah.
Right, but the main headquarters is by the college, I think.
Is at the college, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know about that. Well, that's excellent. So then, now, what are you up to?
What am I up to now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm doing spirit art, doing lots of readings, and I'm collecting stories about how physical phenomena and the afterlife kind of tries to make us aware of things in everyday life.
Oh, I'd love to talk about that some. But before we do, the name of the show is We Don't Die, as of course you know. There could be a first-time listener here today that has lost a loved one and is looking for a reason to believe that their loved one has not gone for good, that they might see them again. Is there any personal story, or you don't have to give names, of course, but maybe of a connection that you were able to make? That, I think every time, I'm guessing that you work with someone, you leave that session inspired. But is there anything you can share, maybe to someone, to help them really believe that life after death is real?
Well, I mean, there's so many stories. I'm focusing on the fact that things are now appearing like butterflies and birds and things like that. And I'll give you, I know my story. I was visiting my mother, who's very ill, and out on the balcony was this little bird. And I'm watching this little bird pop around, and for some reason I'm thinking of my father, and it's reminding me of my deceased father. And so I looked at the bird, and I thought, oh, this is great, and I'm thinking of him. The next day, I was on SNUI, and at one of the services, and I got this reading, and the medium starts saying, well, there are birds, and she's talking about like the bird that was popping around on the balcony, and she was connecting with my father. So I knew that it wasn't just a coincidence.
Yeah, I had a very similar thing on SNUI. Then I tell you, I know I talk about this a lot, but snui.org is a great online community, and it's less than $30 US a year. And you can attend mediumship classes and trainings and go to a church service, and it's an excellent time for a loved one to come through. And the very first one I was on, Susan, I had been out for a walk almost every day, and like a little kid, I was picking dandelions and blowing them in the wind and making wishes. And I don't know, I was just being silly. And so when I tuned into one of the services in SNUI, uh, and towards the end of the service, when they started doing the demonstration of mediumship, this woman said, "Okay, there's a man here. It says his daughter's in the room, and the virtual room, and it described his cancer and what he looked like and how he passed, and said, and I said, well, I'll take that. It sounds, it really sounded like my dad with all this. There's some other specifics. But then the message was your dad is with you every time you go for the walk and you pick up the dandelions and blow them, making your wishes. He takes every walk by your side. I mean, it was so matter of fact and to the point that it couldn't have been for anybody else. It was beautiful.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, and that's what happens when as a medium, when you really get that spirit link, that's a good close link, they can impart that information to their loved one, and it is just so moving for everyone.
It is. When you make those, or you get those links personally, do you just know the information? Do you see people in your mind's eye? How do you feel that they're present? Is it?
Well, it's interesting. I was just talking to another medium about this, and we both agreed, and we feel the link. It's like I feel someone standing next to me, so I feel a presence there. And then what you have to do, which is in some ways easy, but in other ways extremely difficult, is you have to clear your mind, get rid of all your thoughts, and let the spirit just come through and impart the information. So the truth of the matter is, I don't remember any of my messages.
Wow.
Because spirits, no, I don't remember them. So if someone came back to me and said, "Oh, you told me blah blah blah," I wouldn't remember. Sometimes there's little bits here and there that hit my conscious mind, but most of the time they don't.
So you're so present, and then you have the other person who is pretty much just saying yes or no, if they can take the information?
Yeah, that's what you need. And the more the other person responds with their voice, the stronger the link will become. And it's at the point where, for me, it's like the link is just saying something to me in my ear, and I'm just speaking it.
That's phenomenal. I think there's Penn and Teller had something on an old TV show I saw on the internet, and it was about about mediums and how fake they are, and one of those kind of things. And they were talking about cold readings, and well, yeah, I can understand. Everybody's, especially if you're in your 50s, probably has a grandparent in spirit, and that there are generalities. But what I really like about the training with spiritualism is the sitter, the person that's working with you, does not give you any information except for yes or no.
Yeah, well, the thing that's interesting, I just wrote an article, and I've been doing research on the differences between psychics and mediums. Mm-hmm. And we found in our research that the mediums that come out of a spiritualist background are much more accurate than mediums that don't. So, and there was a huge difference. I mean, if you go onto YouTube and look at the work of Tony Stockwell and look at the work of Gordon Higginson, mm-hmm. and then compare it to the Long Island medium, you'll see a huge difference. Mm-hmm. And there's no cold readings involved there because you're trained not to do it. In fact, in the English training, you cannot ask a question.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, no, you can't ask questions. What you have to do is present the information first. You have to say things like, I'll say, "I believe I have your father in spirit. Is that correct?" And then they'll say yes or no. Mm-hmm. But you can't say, "Do you have a father in spirit?" That's not allowed.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I mean, and when you watch the television mediums, you'll see that they're asking lots and lots of questions, and they're fishing. They're fishing. And there's a medium that I know here in the Dale, who will get up and go, I have a Bob, I have a John, I have a Jim. That's fishing.
Because how many of those names are there? Tons.
That's right. There's lots. And I mean, I hate to say it, there's this one medium who I've heard her stand up and give the same message half a dozen times. I have a Joseph here. He died in a car accident. He's, whatever. Are we still connected?
We are.
Okay, good.
We're still rolling.
My screen went black. But okay. Anyway, yeah. So, and people will take it, but that's not the way you're supposed to work. I mean, the way I work, and everybody's a little bit different, is that I will go to someone and the relative will tell me who's there, whether it's a mother, a father, or a grandmother. Sometimes I'm off a generation and I have a grandmother instead of a mother, or a mother instead of a grandmother. But generally, I'm pretty good with the relationship. And so that's the person that's with me. And then after I identify the relationship, I will start describing the person. And then get verification that they look like this, they did that, type of thing, so that they know I really do have that person with me.
Mm-hmm. I think one of our things, none of us wants to be had or be part of fraud, or, when we're in such a tender, vulnerable state, somebody who's experiencing grief and really wants to believe. I mean, it's, I've heard just so many stories about people that have spent a lot of money and really didn't get anything. And some of the stories are really heartbreaking. So I love that SNU, SNUI, spiritualism has such integrity with how people are trained.
Yeah, well, I mean, the other thing, with me, and I tell people to, and they don't understand, is that if you go to a medium and they're not giving you anything you recognize, tell them right away. Tell them within the first few minutes, and they should give you your money back. Me, I never collect any money until everything's over with and everything's fine. And if there's ever any doubt, I won't take any money.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, or if I feel, and this has happened to me, if I feel that a person is coming and they're like I had a woman come to me who was going in for surgery, and she really didn't want a reading. She really just needed some support, some positive things to think about. So I couldn't charge her,
right?
Money, and I could tell she didn't have much money, And if I don't do my job, I don't charge somebody.
Well, you have integrity, and I love that. Even you had said the SNUI, the online organization, is run by volunteers.
That's correct.
Yeah. So, and you yourself are one of the tutors at one of the mediumship classes online.
Yes, I'm one of the volunteers.
Yeah. Tuesday night, 9 p.m. That's your class.
That's my slot. Yes, and I've been very good. I've been there just about every week, unless I, have to cancel, but it's very rare that I'm canceling. I'm also on Sundays, the first and the third Sundays at 6:30 Eastern Time.
Wonderful. That's one last plug for snui.org. Check it out. You get a membership. It takes several days before they send you your login information, but what a great place. And again, for under $30 a year, wherever you are in the world, you can take part of this. And Susan, I don't know about you, but most of the services that I've gone to, there's less than 20 people ever at any one of them. So the chance of one of your loved ones coming through is very high, especially the more you do it.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I have seen more people online there. For example, Stella Upton once did a demonstration of autographs, and it was really interesting. Now, this is the way she worked. She started giving out information, and she said, you have to take 100% of this information. And ironically, I knew halfway through it that it was for me. And out of everything she said, there was only one piece of information, and she must have said 20 or 30 different things.
Wow.
That I was a little bit shaky on, but I could come up with a logic for it. So, yeah, I mean, that's mediumship.
That's really good. Yeah, I've seen some people that said their name, what the relationship is, what street people lived on, and I think some of that really comes with time and dedication and training. So, what
Yeah, and
is it? Oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
Oh,
No,
I
I
was going to
just
say it also comes with integrity.
yes, yes, yep. The spirit world will work with you if you're working with them. Yeah, and it's
That's right.
not about having a big ego and yeah, look at me, all that stuff. So I want to ask
Ego
you
kills it.
a little bit more about yourself and what we want to talk about here on the show today, because you're up to a bunch of stuff. Because I would love to hear about the paintings, the art, and even have we talked a little bit about the physical signs that we can receive. So, and I also want to make sure we talk a little bit about Lilydale, what that is. So, where should we proceed? What do you
Well,
think?
I'll just tell you with art. I did train as an artist. So when I was younger, that was the career choice that I had. And then what I did was, well, making money with art is difficult. So I became a graphic designer in New York City. And I had a successful business for a number of years and did art. And then I began teaching art. So that's how things kind of came around. And when I was teaching art, I tried to get a better job, but I couldn't because I didn't have the right credentials. So I went and got a PhD, figuring that was the last credential I would need.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked out. And so it's come full circle. I've ended up first, I was doing internet research for a while, but then I came back to visual communication. So I've now come full circle and I'm back to what I started with, which is having the art gallery, doing spirit art, and promoting spirit art as much as I can.
What is spirit art?
Yeah. There's many different types of spirit art. I guess the two basic classifications is there's the art that people are just inspired to do, but then there's also art that's evidential. And when we talk about the evidential, which gets into the afterlife, it's when, and I do this, I'll draw portraits. I'll be with a group of people, I will just draw a portrait, and someone in the group will identify it as one of their relatives.
That's pretty great.
And I'm not the only one that does this. There's quite a few people that do it, but that's called evidential art. Another way the evidential art comes through is we have these things called auragraphs, which are more symbolic, where people draw symbols that have things relating to the person's life. And sometimes in the drawings, they'll draw a house, or they'll draw something like your grandmother's house, or something that's evidential that they'll recognize from their real life.
That's great. Very good. I was going to ask you a question and it's gone. So keep talking if you don't mind.
Okay. No,
yeah, go ahead.
So that's it. But there's also, sometimes spirit guides appear, but I don't draw spirit guides per se because you can't verify them. Although like for me, I've had all kinds of verification. For example, 2 students, different times, different years, different places have drawn a similar image for the same person. So then we know that guide is a legitimate guide for that person. I've also had students draw, I've put a picture in an envelope and I've had students draw the person in the envelope, and which is pretty accurate.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, I've had, here's the most amazing. Okay. This is the most amazing spirit art experience I've done, and I've done it several times now. It's more than once here, and I did it here in Lilydale. They used to have a thing, well, they still do. They had a thing where the mediums on Tuesday nights would do a presentation, and I always do spirit art. Now, what I always did was, I didn't just lecture about spirit art. I would stand up and draw 1 or 2 portraits. They would be identified, and then I'd look at everybody and go, now it's your turn. And I would pair everybody in the room up, and usually there's about 30 people, pair them up with someone, and I tell them they don't have to draw, they don't have to be a great artist, because something in the picture will be recognizable to the other person. So we get everything from almost stick figures to beautiful drawings, and then when the other person looks at it, 9 times out of 10, it's taken. I have about a 90% rate at having the pictures accepted.
That's wonderful.
And then the one time, I have to tell you, the one time this woman drew a picture of a little girl, and the recipient of it couldn't identify it. She said, "No, this doesn't make sense to me at all." But she took the picture home. And when she got home, she found out that her friend's daughter, who looked like the picture, had passed away.
Wow.
So she gave the picture to the girl's mother.
Very nice. Those are the best kinds of evidence, I think, when you don't know something right away, and then you go back into your life and you find out it's a person in your life, or was, or somehow.
Yeah, sometimes they say, and so that does happen. I mean, you don't want to have it happen. You don't want to have somebody say, "Oh, well, I'm right, take it, take home, find out." You can't have that attitude about it.
No.
You have to. But my dear friend, Shannon Taggart, who is a spirit photographer, she does amazing work. She does mediumship with her camera. She started on her journey because she came to Lilydale, and in one of the outdoor services, they told her how her grandfather died. And the story they told didn't match the story that she knew from her family. So she was with a cousin, and the two of them went back and said, "The medium said that Grandpa died from choking. You said he died of natural causes." And then they admitted that he had really died from choking.
Interesting.
And they had been covering it up for all these years.
Yeah. I think I'm going to have to talk to Shannon Taggart. You're the 4th person that's mentioned her.
Oh, she's a really dear friend of mine.
Oh, wonderful.
We work together. I'm her model. I'm her medium model.
You are?
Yes. She has a book coming out, and the picture she wants to use on the cover is it's me standing in the mist at Arthur Findlay College. And in the mist, there are all these faces.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so we do. And she's taken pictures of me. It's like when I go to people, yes, I'm also a trance medium. I'm a trance medium. I show them a picture of Shannon's, and there's a picture of me doing transfiguration where there's another face, a smaller face, appearing on the side of my face.
Incredible. Maybe you could just speak a couple of minutes what trance mediumship is and transfiguration, because this is a new topic to a lot of people.
Well, yes, there are different types of mediumship. The categories are mental mediumship and physical mediumship. And just to give you a little bit of background, the physical mediumship was what happened really in the 1800s. There was a lot of that, and that's when the tables would levitate and trumpets would fly around the room, and all kinds of physical things would go on. Sometimes it was in the form where people would materialize in the room, because what happens with physical phenomena is that the mediums and the people in the room are creating this substance called ectoplasma. And the ectoplasma can become more solid. And the more solid it becomes, the more of an image you'll see. So they would they would physically see this phenomena happening. And there's a difference because, and with the mental mediumship, you're getting information about a loved one, and it is more of a mental type of process. Trance actually falls under the category of mental mediumship, although it's used a lot in physical mediumship circles. And what it does is it's a situation where the medium goes into a state and they allow the spirit to speak through them. In traditional mental mediumship, the medium is interpreting, is being the medium for the message coming out. But with trance mediumship, you're just really like giving your voice box over to spirit and allowing them to say whatever they want to say.
It's pretty incredible. I've witnessed it. That was the last course I did in the college, Arthur Findlay College, was on trance mediumship, and to say mind blowing.
Yeah, it's taught a lot in England, but not in the United States.
Hmm. But beautiful, the messages of philosophy that have come through, just it's hard for me, same thing with physical mediumship, to get that I'm experiencing what's really happening, because like that kind of stuff is in the movies, not in reality. And no, it is reality. And so I'm excited about this show and sharing more about this, because I'm hoping to excite people to get interested and maybe start experimenting with some of these things themselves. Really beautiful.
Well, I just have to say is that you have to be careful because you really have to know what you're doing. Mediums have been hurt. I'll give you an example. There's a wonderful physical medium in England, Scott Mulligan, who we were doing a series of seances, and we were told over and over and over again, you can't clap, you can't make a loud noise when the phenomenon is happening, because it could hurt the medium. Because what's happening is the ectoplasma is being extruded from the medium's body, and the sound will make it snap back in. And when it snaps back in, it can hurt them. And what happened was that one of the last group went in there, and as soon as the trumpet started floating around the room, they all started clapping. And poor Scott got hurt.
Yes, I've studied with him, and it's the
Yeah.
real deal. And it's, to me, every time ectoplasm or plasma is said, it sounds like we're talking about something from Ghostbusters. I have a problem with the word, but
No,
go
no,
ahead.
no. But you have to realize that Dan Aykroyd's relatives were spiritualists.
I didn't know that.
Yes, his grandfather. We've been trying to get him to come down to Lilydale, but they used to. I think his grandfather used to come to Lilydale. So the word ectoplasma from Ghostbusters is the same word from spiritualism.
Yeah, I figured it was, and it's not that I'm afraid of saying it, but it's like bringing in this word that I think people conjure up the movie and think, that can't be real. But that's great.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it can be gooey, but not as
Not
extreme
green and
as
gooey like
movie.
in the movie.
No, it's
Oh.
not. I mean, it's more like a mucusy kind of thing, substance.
Susan, how about we talk about physical stuff happening in everyday lives? Can we talk about that? I know we had mentioned that in our emails, but what do you want to share about that?
Well, I mean, I think what I really want to share is I want to tell people to pay more attention, because these physical phenomena happen all the time. For example, there was a young man in Brooklyn that I knew, and wherever he went, pennies would come down from the ceiling. And pennies would like rain on him. The typical story is that people will go around and they'll always find nickels or dimes or pennies.
Yes.
Like always with heads up, never tails down. Mm-hmm. And there'll be a relative that they associate that with. So the spirit world is trying to remind us all the time that they're there. And sometimes it's in the form of butterflies. Sometimes it's in the form of animals, and people do this all the time. They'll associate these things with a particular person. A typical other story is that sometimes people will think they've physically heard the voice of someone who's passed, calling their name. Yeah, that's very common, very, very common. And they're just trying to get their attention and make them aware that they're there, they're fine, they're on the other side. But there's names sometimes. There's apports. You don't know what apports are. Apports are objects that materialize. I don't know if you've been to one of Scott's seances where he's all of a sudden like created a key or a necklace or something has like formed.
No, I've seen them that have come from other seances, but I have not witnessed anything like that.
Yeah. They just kind of appear. And for some, like me, that's what happened to me when I was a kid. I had apports appear. Of course, at the time, I didn't know it was an apport. I had an Indian arrowhead appear to me. It was physical. It wasn't, it was physical. It was lying, for some reason, out in the grass. outside. These airports come to me. That was the first one. Later on, I had a second one come to me, and it was wild about it was that the airport was wrapped. The grass was wrapped around the airport, like in perfect form. I mean, grass is not like that in nature. It doesn't enclose an object. No.
Right.
So, I mean, I knew it was an airport. But I've also been in seances where they've appeared. Sometimes they've appeared under chairs. Sometimes they come out of a medium's mouth. Lots of times they're stones. We've had, I'm trying to think, I've had some like pieces of jewelry, because I make jewelry, appear in rooms and spaces where I've never had it, had anything like that. Stuff moves around. My car keys. I lost it. I still lost the car keys. They disappeared from my pocket. I mean, and between where I parked the car and where I went, I have no idea what happened. They just disappeared. Now, they could appear again for me at some point. And that's the story. Like some people lose a piece of jewelry, and then they'll find it and it will appear in a totally different place. That's an apport.
That's crazy and great.
Yeah, it is. And the opposite is an assport, which is when it disappears. So things will disappear and things will appear. And you just kind of live with it.
Man, I would love to experience that in my lifetime. Something that wasn't there before and then all of a sudden shows up. I just think that's great. And how about...
Yeah, and it's pretty instantaneous too.
Yeah, how about table tipping? There's a lot that I've been hearing about lately with table tipping. And then there's some guy who's out to prove so much fraud, and he's like, I'll show you how the tables tip. And he did a demonstration, and it looked like the table was tipping with him too. And I thought, have you done any of that or witnessed any of that?
On how it looked fake?
Just on the real, the real deal.
Table tipping.
The real deal.
Yeah, sure. And there's... Oh, the real deal. Yeah, I mean, I've done table tipping numerous times with different mediums, and there are some mediums that, and everybody has a little different energy. There's some mediums that have more energy to do that, but usually you get the table so that the table is moving in a direction, and like a pendulum, you ask it which way's yes, which way's no, and then you can start asking it questions, and it will answer them.
And the table's moving on its own, and there just might be a light touch on the very top of the table.
You just put your hands lightly around the top of the table. I mean, and some tables respond better than others. My story was we were doing it at it wasn't Arthur Findlay College. I was doing it in England, and there was one person who was really good at getting the tables going. And the table was going so fast, I literally fell on the floor.
Hopefully,
I couldn't keep up with the table.
You didn't get hurt. That's funny.
Oh, no. But I mean, and I've seen, and tables have like done weird things too. Like they've, tried to get up on one foot and spin around and do all kinds of crazy things. So, yeah, when you can get them really going.
And to witness something like that in front of your very eyes, it just...
Yeah, but there are still, we did it. Okay. Mm-hmm. We had a friend of mine here in the Dale. I always have a seance room in the Dale. My old seance room was a room that many other mediums had used, so it had a lot of activity to it. So we wanted to do a table tipping seance because there was a young woman who was a naysayer. She didn't believe it. So we did. We actually got the table going, but she still didn't believe it. So some people aren't going to be convinced even when they see it.
I think I've experienced enough phenomena and cool things and things in my own mind and from other people that I'd be open to it. I haven't experienced it either. So now you've mentioned a few times the Dale in Lilydale. I'm someone who's not been there. Can you maybe tell us where it is, first of all, and what it is?
Okay. Lilydale is probably the largest spiritualist community in the world. It is located about an hour south of Buffalo, New York. It's between the city of Jamestown and a little town called Dunkirk. It is literally a community. The land that it's on really should be an island, but it's not. They kind of put the land in so it's more of a peninsula right now. And it has, oh my goodness, I can't remember how many homes. What do you have, 500 homes? It has houses very close together because it used to be, it started at during the 1800s. It first started as a free thinkers association. And what they would do is, and the train would come here from New York City. There was a train station right next door. So the people would come here and they had tents and they would build like a tent community. And they would discuss all kinds of things. This was a hotbed for, it was spiritualism, it was the women's movement, and it was, the abolitionists were here as well. Around here, there's a lot of houses where the slaves used to be hidden, and then they would ship them over the lakes to Canada. So this was a real hotbed of all kinds of new thought and images. So then the spiritualists took over the camp, and slowly but surely the tents became houses. So that's why the houses are so close together, is because they were built on old tent sites.
Oh.
Yeah. And what happens is that there's probably about 250 people that live here all year round. And then during the summer, there's thousands. And you can come to it. There is a gate fee because they do demonstrations of mediumship 3 times a day. They have a healing temple. They have a community of mediums. If you become a registered medium there, you can have a business. That's all it means, is you have a business in the Dale and people can pay you to come and get a reading. But you don't have to go to someone. You can also just do the public events. They have, like Monday nights, they have mini circles where people for $15, I think it is, can go and get like a 10-minute reading from a medium. So there's all kinds of mediumistic activities that go on here. There is a library as well that has one of the largest probably collections of spiritualist books.
Wow, good to know. And is there like big meeting rooms and things that these go on? Because I almost think I've heard people take courses in Lilydale. Are there?
Yes, we have a summer workshop program. The big programs are done in the auditorium. The auditorium's been there since the 1800s.
Wow.
So it's not air conditioned. And we have people like James Van Praagh comes. The Ghostbusters used to come. We now are getting celebrity mediums moving into the Dale. We have Lisa Williams now has a home here. Michelle White Dove also has a home here. So,
are there places for people to stay up there, or do they stay in an area town and get a hotel room?
No, there's lots of guest houses. There's a hotel here. There are 2 hotels, actually. There's one in the Dale, one just outside. And then there's lots of guest houses. So, I mean, it's kind of like a retreat for a lot of people. You can come here, take a workshop, and the workshops are all kinds of different things. I'm right now putting together programs for 2018. And we're trying to do a program on spiritualism and technology. So we have people coming from England to do EVP work in the seance room. And I've got Vicki Talbot and Sherry Pearl from the Afterlife Association coming to demonstrate their work.
Oh, that's
connecting
wonderful.
EVP with children. So, we do programs like that, and we're working on it right now for 2018.
Yeah, the Afterlife Education Research Institute, or I said it backwards, AREI, is hosting a symposium this September, and I know Sherry Pearl's going to be there, and probably Vicki as well. And
Yeah,
I'll be going.
and I'll be there.
Oh, you'll be
Yeah.
there. Oh, well, that's right.
Yeah,
I forgot
I'll
about
be
that.
guest-
Do you know
Yeah.
what? I forgot about that. I was making a plug for it. Completely forgot you're going to be there too. So this is a perfect opportunity to invite our listener to come meet us both there, September 15th
Right.
through 17th. 2017, and go to afterlifestudies.org to find out more, to register. And also, if you can't make it, go to the website and just check out some of these people that are doing some cutting edge things in the world of life after death. I can't wait. I'm not get to meet you in person. I'm excited about that.
Oh, yeah. No, it's going to be great fun.
Yeah, it'd be really wonderful. So Lilydale, yeah, I'm going to have to check that out. And that sounds, is that anything similar to like Cassadaga in Florida?
Well, you know, it's funny. Cassadaga, Florida was named after Cassadaga, New York.
Oh, is that?
And Cassadaga, New York is actually where I have a house too. It's just outside Lilydale. The town that Lilydale is kind of in is Cassadaga. So what used to happen was the mediums from Lilydale during the winter, because it's really snowy here, wanted to go to the warm, so they formed the Cassadaga community down in Florida.
Wow.
So all that's the connection.
Coming first circle. The very first medium reading I ever had was just with a friend of mine. I lived in Daytona Beach, Florida. I was 19 years old, and this friend said, let's go to this place. It's called Cassadaga. I thought, oh, it's my very first entry to it. And so now here I am, 51, having this conversation. And
well, it's really funny
world.
Because my dear friend Dennis Morley and I, we don't work in the Dale. We won't. We call ourselves Cassadaga mediums because we have places outside in Cassadaga. He lives in Cassadaga, and my art gallery's in Cassadaga.
Oh, but close by. That's great.
Yeah, it's a mile from the Dale.
Yeah, I'll
you
have
can
to make
walk there.
A trip up there sometime. Being in New England myself, I can get up there.
Yep.
Oh,
just
well,
let me know.
Yes. Well, our time's going by fast. Is there anything I should have asked you or that you want to share that you haven't? And the floor is yours for any final comments or any bits of inspiration that you feel inspired to share.
I'll just say this. I said at the Afterlife Conference, I will be talking about physical phenomena and spiritualism and trying to make a closer connection between spiritualism and afterlife studies.
Beautiful. I look forward to it.
So it should be fun.
Very much look forward to it. Well, Dr. Susan Barnes, thank you for being our guest today.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. And for our listener, thank you as well for being here. I love having these conversations, as you know, and I hope you do too. Love being here. And as always, you can go to WeDon'tDieRadio.com and check out all the back episodes. It's also on iTunes, YouTube, and every podcast site imaginable.
I know what I should say. Sure, if anybody comes to Lilydale, if they're coming in the summer, every Wednesday night at 7:00, I teach art classes, and you don't have to be an artist, but we do art and you get readings.
Oh, very exciting. Thank you for sharing that. And as a reminder, your website is spiritartgallery.net. Oh, I didn't ask you, are you open if someone listens to the show and wants to request a telephone medium reading with you?
Yes. I mean, all of my information is on the website, and all the things I'm doing are there. And if they're in the area, we do readings at the gallery, or I can do readings on the phone or through Skype. So we are available. So please check it out.
Yeah, and I do love what you shared earlier, that you have integrity. I really love that. So spiritartgallery.net is Dr. Susan Barnes' website. Well, then I'm going to close this episode and just say thank you for being here. It's a reminder, you can always go to snui.org if you want to dabble in spiritualism. It's just great. And even go to some of the online services and maybe even take a class with Dr. Susan Barnes. It's all included in that under $30 a year membership. It's fabulous. But in closing, my name is Sandra Champlain, and I've been your host on We Don't Die Radio. And I do believe that life is an education for the soul and that your life here on earth is important. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon.